Shalom everybody, welcome back. Insights in the Parsha of the week, Parshat Acharey, which starts off with the Yom Kippur service, and the Torah opens up, interestingly, as if to say each one is like connected. After the death of the two sons of Aaron, did Hashem speak to Moshe to teach Aaron the laws of Yom Kippur, of the entering of the Holy of Holies. And like Rashi says also, that Aaron has to follow the following instructions, so he should not die like his sons died when they offered an esh bekorvatam esh zara lifnei Hashem veyamutu, that they drew close a foreign type of fire, which was the fire on the incense that they were burning, and they died. So Rashi points out, it's like as if a doctor comes and says, don't do this and this, so you shouldn't die like these people died. So what's interesting is the Torah is making such a big deal of Aaron, how to enter the Holy of Holies, so he should not die like his sons died. Is it to say, what's this connected to this? Fine, Rashi says, so he should learn from them. But the Torah is going on and making emphasis, make sure he does like this, so he shouldn't die like his sons died. So it's as if to say, there are two opposites. The devotion, the work of Aaron Kohen and any high priest afterwards on Yom Kippur is exact opposite of the blemish of Nadav and Avihu. To recap, we went into this a little in Parshat Shmini, but there's just more details because the Parsha is now connecting it to Yom Kippur, so we have now a more clear picture of the idea. Nadav and Avihu, of the other things that the Gemara teaches that they did wrong, the main thing is the la insivu nashim, that they weren't married. They did not get married. And as if the Torah points out, Rav Nosson points out that this was the major blemish. Because they weren't married, that's why when they offered the Ketoret, fine, there are other reasons, but the main reason was they were not married, so therefore they were punished with death. And in Parshat of Yom Kippur, and in the Mishnayot and Masechet Yoma, you can see there's a big emphasis that the Kohen Gadol must be married. He has to be with a wife. If there's no wife, he can't go in. Rav Nosson goes into this amazing thing. What's the idea of the wife? He says, Rav Nosson, the wife contains an ingredient, a concept in her, which is synonymous to entering the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. The Kohen Gadol enters lifnai v'lifnim. Let's explain just the idea first. The Mishnah says, the Gemara says, that there are 10 levels of holiness that came down to the world. Okay? And Eretz Yisrael has all 10, specifically in the Beit HaMikdash and the Holy of Holies. There's 10 levels of Kedusha. The place that has all 10 levels, all 10 measures of holiness is the Holy of Holies. Then there's the holiness in Yerushalayim, in the Azara, the Heichal. It goes down levels, okay? Until a regular city in Eretz Yisrael will have a certain level below. Yerushalayim, the Temple Mount, the Temple, the Holy of Holies, all 10 levels of holiness are there. And the Kohen Gadol enters that place once a year, on the 10th day. Notice the number 10 popping up. 10, 10. And if you want to go back further, the 10 utterances of creation, the 10 sphirot that Hashem used in creating the universe, the 10 commandments, the 10 plagues. Okay, the 10 that's coming here again and again and again. Okay, what's his idea of number 10? So Rav Nosson goes into this a lot, and Rabbi Nachman, of course, that the 10th level of holiness is considered the Keter, the crown. The crown in the Kabbalah, we're not allowed to go into it so much. The Arizal warns, the Kabbalistic masters warn, that it's forbidden to delve into the secrets of the Keter, only that which is revealed, and that which is revealed in the Zohar is very vague here and there. This place is just mentioning it. We have no right, we have no authority, we don't have the capacity and capability of entering the idea of the Keter. But the idea of Keter is the highest Kedusha. Number 10. Okay, the 9 leading up to this 10th level is what we technically can have access to, and if we maximize our ability in becoming tzaddikim and holy, etc., etc. So we reach number 9, preceding the 10th level, which is the Keter. And then there's what's beyond that. Beyond the Keter is what's called accessing the infinite light himself. Hashem, blessed be He, the infinite light, which is a enhancement of holiness being revealed into the world. On Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol, the idea of atonement and forgiveness is that you require access to a super duper higher level to fix that. It's like, for example, God forbid, a person's sick, so we give a medication where the medication is expected to be stronger than the disease. There's the disease, and then the medication, they're fighting each other. So the medication technically has to be stronger. So too, when healing a person spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, which is what we're trying to do on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol, when there was a holy temple, would enter the place where all 10 levels of holiness were accessible, only once a year on the 10th day of Tishrei, going in there, tapping into the level of the Keter, and by doing so, activating healing and compassion from a super duper high level. Now going back, he had to be married. Nadav and Avihu were not married. What's the idea of marriage? Rav Nosson explains the secret of a woman is hinted to, a righteous woman, is hinted to in a verse, not to get mixed up with another verse in Mishlei in Proverbs. There's a second verse in Proverbs that reads like this: Eshet Chayil Ateret Ba'ala. The woman of valor is the crown of her husband. Atara. Atara and Keter are similar wordeds for the same idea. They both translate, obviously there's depth and difference, but on the simple pshat meaning, Atara and Keter both translate as a crown. So Rav Nosson explains, the woman, on one hand, a wife, she's like an ezer, she's an assistant to the husband, to help the husband to do his devotion of Hashem. That's her job, to help him. She has her own mitzvot also, yes, but the main thing of a woman, like the Torah says, lo ezer kenegdo, I'll make her to be an ezer, an assistant, facing him, to help the man. That's why Hashem created first Adam, and then Chava. He should appreciate a woman, recognize that he needs a woman in his life, and she's there to help him. Okay, so Rav Nosson writes, on one hand, she's an assistant, which means technically a level lower. She's receiving from the husband. But on the other hand, Rav Nosson writes, she's rooted in the Keter, which is above the man's level. What's the idea? The way, Rabbi Nachman explains this, lesson 24, Likutey Moharan. The way a person accesses the Keter is he has to go through a waiting process. Hamten, the word Keter, he says it's connected to another word in Aramaic, katar. Like Elihu said to Eov in the book of Eov, I think it's chapter 32, 36, katar li ze'er ve'achaveka. Wait for me a little, wait, and I'll answer you a better, more convincing argument why you shouldn't question Hashem's ways. That's what Elihu ben Barachel challenged and said to Eov. And he used the word katar. And katar is not Hebrew, it's Aramaic, but it means wait. And it's similar, has the same letters as Keter. Rabbi Nachman shows this connection, that the Keter, to receive the light of Keter, you have to wait. You have to go through this waiting experience, okay? Waiting means also a setback. You're trying to advance, and they're from heaven pushing you back. You're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. And in order to reach the next level, you are ready now, but to be next level, you have to have a waiting. Why this waiting? The waiting process is what builds a person to become a vessel, builds within him vessels to receive within them the infinite light. Because he's trying to access something which is way above his level. And if he does access it in the wrong way, he will die. Okay? So the job of a woman, she's ateret ba'ala, she's the crown of the husband. Okay? Meaning, for the Kohen Gadol to enter the 10th level of holiness, which is accessible only in the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, the 10th day, he needs access to the Keter, which is represented in his wife. The wife is the one, Rav Nosson writes this also, she's the one keeping the man, in proper proportion and not advancing too fast. The nature of a man is to run. A man in holiness, for example, he's trying to accomplish, to advance. The woman is always pushing him off schedule, pushing him back. Rav Nosson writes this, and it's for his own good, because she feels that the man is about to reach a higher level of holiness, and he can't access it unless he has the waiting position the waiting situation, the waiting scenario. So she gets like a Wi-Fi connection, ding 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 ding. Do something to mess up your husband's plan right now, so that he doesn't advance. He's taking it personally. Why? No. But the real reality is, it's to keep him back, so that he can now properly receive the light of the Keter. So now, the idea of entering the Holy of Holies, that's where Nadav and Avihu, by the way, entered. They entered the Holy of Holies and offered the Keter without permission, and they weren't married, okay? The reason why they were killed, the Gemara says the main reason, because they weren't married. If they were married, first of all, they would have done it in the proper time. You see, that was the whole thing also. Nadav and Avihu were so anxious to experience this light that they knew was accessible in the Holy of Holies once the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was erected. On Rosh Chodesh Nisan already. They went in. They didn't wait. Why did they not wait? Because they're not married. They didn't have the capability of waiting. It's all just running into holiness. As soon as it was accessible, the inauguration of the tabernacle, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, they went in with the Ktoret, offered, they weren't given permission, they weren't married, boom. So Hashem tells Aharon, you can't go at every time, right? Bezot yavo, only with the following instructions on Yom Kippur, with XYZ sacrifices, par ben bakar, chatat, ayil olah, whatever, all the sacrifices of Yom Kippur, and the proper way to enter the Holy of Holies with the Ktoret and the proper vestments, the 4 vestments of white that the Kohen Gadol had to wear. Only then, after all this waiting process, once a year, it's waiting, and being married, then you can go in. Okay, Bezot Yavo Aaron. Another thing, the Zohar goes a lot in this word, Bezot Yavo Aaron, which translates in the following prescription, with this, in the following manner, with these things, may Aharon enter the Holy of Holies. Bezot, the Kabbalah teaches, is referring to the lowest sphera called Malchut. So it's as if it says, Bezot Yavo Aharon, with this thing of Malchut, may Aharon enter the temple. What is Zot? What is Malchut? So again, Rabbi Nachman explains, our job in this world is to elevate Hashem's Malchut, Hashem's kingship, which refers to His divine presence, which right now present in this world is stuck in the filth of exile, in the dirtiness and the darkness and the cloudiness and the sadness of exile, and elevating it up, elevating it to the side of holiness through joy, through doing mitzvot with joy. So the Torah is telling Aharon, Bezot Yavo Aharon. In the following Zot, may Aharon come in. As if to say, what does that mean? With elevating Malchut, Bezot, by bringing out the Malchut from the evil, from the domain of impurity and darkness and sadness, elevating it up by doing mitzvot b'simcha, that's Aaron, because like the Zohar says, a Kohen, and especially a Kohen Gadol, cannot do any service in the temple if he's sad. It's funny, the Zohar says that if a Kohen came to work in the temple in the morning and he was sad, the Sgan, the guys in charge of the Kohanim, say, go home. You're not allowed to work today because you're sad. The Kohanim had to be full of excitement and joy to serve in the Beit HaMikdash. Rav Nosson writes that's one of the reasons why the Leviim were playing music all the time, or most of the time of the sacrifices, in order that there should be a happy attitude in the temple. Had to be happy, b'simcha. The music being played and the Kohanim doing their work fast because the beat to the music, the beautiful music played by the Leviim, that was to invoke and fill them with joy. So here also, Bezot Yavo Aharon, the only way to elevate Malchut, Rabbi Nachman teaches, is by doing mitzvot with joy. So Bezot, with Malchut, which is elevated due to doing mitzvot b'simcha, and he teaches the only way a person can be b'simcha, Rav Nosson writes this, is by transforming the sadness to happiness. And he says this is the idea of marriage. Marriage, the idea of marriage, of a wife, is she has her needs. She, like we said, she's pulling a man down, because she's the crown, she's rooted in the Keter. And the way for the man to take it properly is if he transforms it to simcha. It's not an easy thing. It's easier said than done, I admit it. But this is the work of man, to transform the sadness thrown his way from the wife who's just doing her job with her Wi-Fi antennas of the Keter, which is pushing him back, taking it besimcha, transforming her to simcha. This is how a person elevates the malchut into holiness. So the Torah is saying, bezot yavo Aaron, with zot, which malchut, which is doing the mitzvot besimcha, which is reflected in marriage. That's why he had to be married. That with bezot, he's able to transform any sadness that comes his way due to his marriage. He's able to take it and put it into the simcha. Then yavo Aaron. Then Aaron can enter into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. So this, the Torah in a nutshell. There's much more to develop, obviously. But this is one of the points of this week's Parsha about the Yom Kippur and the sons of Aaron vis-a-vis his father Aaron. And the main difference, where the main difference was they weren't married. They were big tzaddikim, but they weren't married. They had no laws of obstacles, of boundaries. Everything was just running to holiness. That's why they died. They died in holiness. Okay? Whereas Aaron had to be married, which he was, and because he was married, he has to also, the halacha says in the Mishnayot in Masachet Yoma, that if a Kohen Gadol loses his wife, he has to get married ASAP. If Yom Kippur comes, he's not allowed to do the service of Yom Kippur until he gets married. He can't stay alman. He has to be married in order to do the service of the Holy of Holies, of Yom Kippur, the 10th day, to reach the level of the Keter, which accesses the infinite light, which accesses rachamim and compassion and forgiveness for all of a person's sins. That's why it's so powerful to connect to Keter. Just look at it, just one point. Keter is the same letters as karet, which means excision. Person, God forbid, he's liable death penalty for sins, which are liable of a death penalty called karet, where a person is cut short, or he loses his children, or he dies before the age of 60, or he loses, God forbid, his portion in the world to come. That's karet, God forbid. The Keter can fix all three. Can fix all types of damages. But we be zoche on a personal level to access the words of the tzaddikim and their teachings, because like the Gemara says, on the words Yekarahi mipeninim, that a Talmid Chacham is even greater than the Kohen Gadol who enters lifnai ve'lifnim. Yekarahi mipeninim, peninim means greater than pearls. The word peninim is like an acronym for two other words, lifnai ve'lifnim. That's how the rabbis learned it out. Peninim, I think penin, it's twice. So lifnai ve'lifnim, greater than the one who enters the inside of the inside. Lifnai ve'lifnim is a reference in Chazal and the teachings of the sages as the Holy of Holies. That as greater as a Kohen Gadol is, greater than him are the tzaddikim of every generation. So that means, what does that mean? That just as the Kohen Gadol activates atonement on Yom Kippur, saving from karet to keter, so too the tzaddikim, the true tzaddikim, following their advice, is even greater than the Kohen Gadol activating atonement on Yom Kippur. Following their advice is a gateway and a guarantee that you'll get out of whatever you're stuck in. Shabbat Shalom and all the best.